Alright, testing. Alright, fantastic. Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of Race Spec Regional Leagues. This time we are at Zandvoort for the Pacific Series and this is Tier 4. I am Bod Hod and I'll be your commentator this evening. New track for everyone, so this will be an interesting race to see. Most drivers will be fairly unfamiliar with this track compared to the other tracks in the calendar, of course it being a brand new addition to the F1 calendar, so it's going to be an interesting one to see where people end up on pace, see how much people have practiced, and yeah, just see what the general pace is like, as I'm getting a few weird things on this side there. I'm not sure what that be. There we go. Apologies about that, I'm just trying to sort out the on-screen stuff so you guys can get all the important information. Yeah, anyway, as these guys are just starting their laps, I think a few of them might be on laps, we'll jump on board with Dan the Racer, who is on his lap. On the soft tyres, goes a bit big there. There are a couple of really difficult corners on this track. The curbs are high, so that makes it very challenging for a lot of these drivers, but there are also some real technical sections where you can really gain or lose a lot of time, as well as yeah, where you can make an easy mistake and end up in a really bad spot. Track's pretty unforgiving, so these drivers are going to have to show it some respect to start off with, put in a couple of banker times and then try and send it, because it really is a hot lap circuit. Track position in qualifying is going to be really important for a good result in the race, as it is quite difficult to overtake, with there only being one real main straight, and then because of the layout of the corners, it's going to be really hard to stick behind other people, so yeah. Overtaking might be very hard to come by, but that just makes this qualifying even more important. So we'll be keeping a close eye on this and see who can come out on top, because that will go a long way to get themselves a good result. As we've got a few times on the board now, our quickest a 1:10.1 by Installator in the Alfa Romeo. Everyone's setting laps on the softs so far, although there are a couple of guys on mediums, as we've got a bit of a car park there in the middle sector. Actually, I think that still is the first sector, my mistake. There are a couple of problems sometimes in qualifying with the track being so narrow as well, so let's hope that these guys get out of each other's way. As we've got One Slip Mofo jumps across the line, goes P3 actually, so that's a pretty good lap on those mediums. We put on all the times there, so a 1:10.2. X-Mort is currently the quickest with a 1:09.7, so it'll be interesting to see also what the pole time is, see if anyone can push close to those 8s. My guess would be a low to mid 9 would be the pole time, so we'll have to wait and see on that. Yeah, I'm just trying to remember from the Tier 3 race that just finished what the pole time was, but the number escapes me. I think it was a low 9, possibly a high 8. So yeah, we'll have to see what these guys can put in, as One Stick Mofo is just coming through the middle sector now, probably the most technical section of the track. Left hand before the short DRS zone, that curb is really deadly, drivers will want to be avoiding that as much as they can. This DRS zone is a bit of a pointless one. Probably the biggest advantage you've got is to get close enough to have a go into turn 1 for the main DRS zone, because the straight's really too short to make a move into there, and that corner is too tough. Come through the second to last and final corner is probably one of the most enjoyable bits of the track. New bank section is always very exciting. One Stick Mofo will come into the pits, so he won't set a second lap. That is one thing about Zandvoort as well. You do use your ERS a fair bit, so you can probably only really do one lap before you have to either save or come into the pits. So another thing these drivers have to think about, you can't really do 2 consecutive quick laps because your ERS just runs out so much. And a lot of drivers will probably struggle to save it as yeah, as the session goes on, and especially in the race, the ERS management may be a bit of a challenge, so we'll have to see how they go with that. As Suscuss will come across the line, jumps to P11, 1:10.8. Excuse me. I'm not sure if it's a new update, but for some reason I feel like I'm seeing less of the car. Maybe all these menus are a bit bigger than they were before. have a bit of a play around, see what we can do about that. I just feel like that bar on the left hand side sticks out a bit too much for my liking, so we might just take that off so we can see a bit more of the track, and hopefully that works out okay. Let us know in the comments if there's anything that's wrong or anything you'd like to see in terms of data or whatever. I will be absolutely happy to help, as we've got 16 of these guys in asset laps. P-Wire right is the bottom guy, but I don't think he's really set a representative lap. That 114 is probably, he's probably made a mistake somewhere, so he's got a lot of time to find. He's shown he's got a bit of pace from the first few races as well, so we'll keep an eye on him. Neither Ferrari has set a lap either, as Artie looks like he's invalidated his lap, and Macedonian, who I think won last week's race. Speaking of, I might pull these standings up and let you know what the status is after 2 rounds. So we've got Ninja Penguin in the AlphaTauri on top, 1 point clear of Lunacy in the Ferrari, who is 1 point clear of Macedonian, who did win last week's race. So it's a really close battle at the top so far, and BMAC's only 3 points behind Macedonian. So we've got 27, 26, 25, 22 for those 4 guys, and then Suskus in P5 with 20 points. So of course, being early in the season, the gaps be nice and small, but yeah, after the first few races, those are the 5 that have come out on top. Plenty of guys have scored points, plenty of guys also haven't. I know there are some quick guys who haven't had particularly brilliant races yet, so I'll be looking forward to them getting some results and making that championship even tighter as we continue to watch these guys do their laps. We'll stay on board with Macedonian for this last sector. Looks like we've got a couple of cars in the way. Looks like they get out of the way. Assume retarded as well there. Up to P3 at the moment for the McLaren driver. Macedonian will come through the final corner. Don't run too wide before it. It's probably the worst place to invalidate, or the most likely place to invalidate. Macedonian will jump into P5 for the 110.1, so a decent lap there as well. But it is Exmoor at the moment, who still is unmatched. But now with 109.7, we've got Lunacy's put in a 109.8, just a 10.5 behind, and Ashin Matata at 109.9. Only 3 drivers in the top, not in the top, in the 109s, that's what I meant to say. I was going to say the only 3 drivers in the top 3, and that makes perfect sense anyway. We'll leave Macedonian, looks like he's on cooldown. Try and find someone on the lap. Looks like Insulator's on a lap, so we'll just stay on board through this Bath S section. Bit of a thrill ride through there, bit of undulation, a couple of difficult curves, it makes it a bit challenging. Don't want to take too much of that curve on the left hand side. Surprisingly quick right hander, easy to catch the curve, and you also don't want to run wide there because the curve can spit you out. And then this corner here is probably the most difficult braking zone. You're trying to turn and brake at the same time, as Insulator has just gone wide there to prove the point. So yeah, and he's bailing out his lap. He's letting MJ go. We'll jump on board. Looks like he's on a hot lap. No, he's in 0 error, so he might just be saving. Or maybe he's coming in. We'll have to wait and see. We'll jump on board with his teammate Drow, who's come across the line. He jumps to P11 with a 110.3. So times are really close. If you have a look at IG Flow in P5, and then down to DVT in P12, that's 8 drivers separated by only 3 tenths. And then even beyond that, there's only kind of a 1/10, 2 tenths between drivers as well. So it's looking nice and tight for now. I think in the Tier 3 race before, we had the whole field within a second and a bit. I think 1.2 seconds, I think it was. So yeah, that also just emphasises how important quality is. As Suskus has lost it right in front of Drow. Lucky Drow wasn't on a lap there. Looks like it's just run a bit wide, or possibly hit that apex a bit too hard. Didn't quite catch that as MJ goes past again. So that's a bit of a setback for Suskus, but still those medium tyres, so he's set a couple of laps on those. We'll just have a check. Oh no, maybe not. I might be mixing him up with another driver. Only 2 drivers currently got their best laps on mediums, so Suskus, and then the Renault of One Sick Mofo, who I'm sure will want to improve. He'll probably chuck on some softs. We'll see what he's on now. He's on softs now, yep. So looks like softs are the way to go. Now, in terms of strategy for this race, it will also be interesting because the soft hard is very doable, probably the ideal strategy. The mediums to hard means you can push and don't have to worry about tyre wear at all. And if you really want to be adventurous, you could maybe do a soft medium, but you're going to have to look after your tyres and cop a bit of pain at the end of your stints. So there's a few options, again, which the drivers can choose, but I'm sure most of these guys will be qualifying on the softs if they can just get that track position, which is going to be mighty important for a good result in the race. Hello Kelly in the chat, good to have you along. Supporting P. Wright, had a good race in race 1, not so good race last week in Bahrain, so I'm sure he'll be hoping to bounce back, and I'm sure with your support he'll be able to do that. Tyre choices, they should be up there, sorry for not having them up before. Just a bit worried about that whole display thing being a bit big. Actually, maybe they've just grown that column where the names are. I think that might be it. I do feel like, yeah, the car's kind of boxed in there, so I'm not sure what's happening there. Reckon medium sauce and overfuel the car. You're going to have to be nice and kind on your tyres if you're going to do that. You can probably do 22, 23 laps on those mediums pretty comfortably before you get to puncture territory, and then about 10, 11 on those softs. So it's a stretch, but it's possible. We have to see which drivers are brave enough to try and pull that off. Also, there's a real possibility of safety cars being not just a new track, but also quite a difficult and technical track. Suskas will come across the line, goes P17, so he's set 3 laps in those mediums. But yeah, easy to make a mistake around here, so it'll be interesting to see if we get any safety cars and see whether that will play a factor. And even another factor is the weather. As F1 Boy's retired, is that on track? I think he's put it in the pit wall, judging by the map there. That's an interesting place to have crashed. I think he might have put it in the pits, but I'm not too sure. Who's that coming around? Is it Racing Point? It is. Yeah, he's put it in the pit wall, so that's unfortunate. F1 Boy, he's going to have to start at the back. Not ideal. Jump aboard with David Carbon. I think he's just finished the lap, so we will find someone who's on a lap. Dan the Racer is on a lap in the Racing Point, bright pink car. Got a little bit of traffic in Exmort ahead, let's hope he gets out of the way. He's parked on the apex, that is not getting out of the way. Yeah, he could have done a better job there, I think, but yeah, once again, it is a difficult track to get out of the way because it is so narrow, so you can't entirely blame him. But Dan the Racer, he's going to come into the pits, so not happy with that lap. Who have we got on a lap? We'll jump aboard with Williamson maybe, on a lap at the moment, coming through the final few corners, championship contender. I think he might be setting up a lap actually. Not sure, he went pretty slow through the penultimate corner. Yeah, he's going to come into the pits. So I have to keep an eye on some of these quick guys as they put in the times on to try and catch these fast laps. Speaking of fast laps, we missed Wansink Mofo, put in the 109.2, so that's nearly half a second quicker than the next best driver over Exmort, who is on a lap, so we'll stay on board. So Wansink Mofo showing some fantastic pace to start off with here. 5 tenths is a lot, it's massive, particularly with it being such a short lap in terms of time. Half a second is really big, with only 70-second laps. So that's quite impressive there from the Renault. It looks like Exmort's got a perfect little sector there, very short sector, so time to be gained. We'll see if he can get close to Wansink Mofo. A little bit of traffic up ahead, but shouldn't really get in the way. Hits that apex nicely. That's a really good way to take the penultimate corner. He's done that well. Up to the line. What's he going to do? He doesn't choose to tow. He's going to improve by a tenth, but he stays in P3 as BMAC in the Red Bull also just came across the line to come P2, only a tenth and a half behind Wansink Mofo. So a couple of quick times coming in now. I think that was Drow, just came in P4, so that's a good lap from the Mercedes driver. We'll jump off board a bit. AG Flows on a lap. Purple first sector, so that's promising. Another driver who's showing some decent pace in the first few races, so we'll keep an eye on this lap because this could be a top 5 lap if not higher. So we've got a few yellows around the place and that's just people getting out of the way. Yeah, I think so. Purple in the middle sector as well, so this could be a really good lap. He's 6 tenths up in his time nearly, so this is going to put him right in the contention with that top 3, top 2 even. So if he can keep it together, runs a little bit wide there, that's going to hurt a little bit of time, but nothing too disastrous. Gets to run around the banking and up to the line. We'll jump on board if he crosses the line. He'll only improve by 3 tenths, so he lost a couple of tenths there in that final sector, probably on that penultimate corner, just not quite hitting the apex. So we know he's got a bit of time to find. He's only 300ths down on Drow and P4, who in turn is only 600ths down on Exmort. So if any of these drivers can improve by only 2-3 tenths even, that's going to vault them up a whole lot of positions. If you have a look down here at Macedonian, Ninja Penguin Installator, Artie Cheng, look how close those times are. 0.156, 0.158, 0.162, 0.163, as I think DBT just got it. Oh, we've had a crash. So DBT, I think, just got a 5-place penalty, and I think that's, who's that? That is Artie Cheng's. So they've both got damage, and it looks like they might have had it coming together. They're both in the same area of the track. Yeah, I wonder what's happened there. You don't usually see crashes and coming together in qualifying. As I think there's a bit of rain on screen actually. I wonder if it's starting to get wet. We'll jump on board. Is it just me, or can I see a few, can you see a few specks of rain? I'm pretty sure it's starting to rain, so that's quite interesting. I don't know if anyone's really going to improve then. If the track's starting to get wet, you can see the track's starting to get greasy. I'm sure there's rain now, so that is interesting. Is Strauss retired from the session? Has he done that on track? According to our map, I don't think so. He might have done it in the pits. DBT will come into the pits. DB Carbon's on the lap. He's 4.5 tenths down though in the first sector, so it looks like that track is getting wet, so that might be all she said, all she wrote for qualifying. I don't think any of these guys are really going to improve. Seeing someone like P White, who's got some good pace, he's actually pretty close to his best time, so hopefully for P White's sake he can hang on to this lap and vault himself up a couple of positions. But with the rain coming down, yeah, it's definitely raining. It might be really hard for these guys to improve, so yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what people can pull out of their pockets. Looks like the other Renault of One Sick Mofo is just behind, possibly about to start a lap. P White's going to come around the final corner. Can he improve on his best time? He does marginally, but stays P19, so that track is not favouring these drivers. Honest Crook's also on a lap down at P18, so he would have wanted to improve, but the question is, can he with this weather? Is Insulator retired? So a lot of these guys retiring in the pits now, obviously knowing that, yeah, well, A, they're out of time to do a lap, but also knowing that there's no point trying because the track's just not in prime condition anymore. So Honest Crook, I don't think he's going to improve his time. I think he's actually out of fuel. Yeah, he's out of fuel, so that's going to be it for Honest Crook. Suscuss is on a lap. I didn't see whether it was up or down yet, so we'll have to wait and see, but I don't think he'll be up. P2 last race, so Suscuss would have wanted a better result than P17 in quali. He's going to come into the pit, so he's given up too, so the track's obviously too wet for anyone to improve. Debut Carbon, he's already way down on his time. So that's going to be it for quali. So quali cut short a bit there. So it's really important those guys got those times in their second run. Usually give yourself 2 or 3 runs. 2 runs to kind of warm up, and then the third one to really bang it in and send it. Some tracks even 4, but yeah, different here. I think most drivers only got 2 runs in. So that'll be it for quali. It will be One Sick Mofo on pole with BMAC and Xmort rounding out the top 3. So 2 tenths between all of those guys. And then it gets real close from P4 all the way down. Some insanely close times there. I think I mentioned before, between P10 and P13, almost identical times. So that's quite telling for what this race could be. Real close slog. So I'm looking forward to see what these guys can do. Top 10 all on softs, but I mean, we can't be going, like, we're not sure of the weather even. So I assume they'll have to start on those softs. We'll have to assume it's dry for now, but yeah, I mean, what a weird quali in the end. A couple of big crashes. I'll check the race director, because I'm pretty sure I saw a 5-place grid penalty. Plenty of invalid laps. Grid penalty, yes. A DBT collision with Artie Cheng, so something's happened there. Maybe just a bit of miscommunication on the lap. So where would that drop DBT? That puts him down to 19th, so that's really not ideal at a track like this. As we're just waiting for the time to run out, we've got a minute left. If anyone's watching, feel free to get some predictions in for the race. Give me a 1, 2, 3, and if you get it right, I will buy you a Freddo Frog. Can't go too long with Freddo, so if you want that little chocolate, then get your prediction in. I'm not brave enough to make a prediction, so I'm not sure if I will, and also I don't really want to be biased to these guys, but you guys can all feel free to take a ping. I think it's going to be a cracking race, particularly that midfield battle. I think from kind of P6 down to probably P13, 14, that's going to be a real cracking fight, so we'll be keeping an eye on that definitely. As we've got 10 seconds to go. no one's out on track, so it's just waiting for the time to run out. Another little bug the game still needs to patch up, but that's okay, as we just pull up our qualifying results. In the end, it will be 123, One Slick Mofo, BMAC and X Mort, with Drow, IG Flow, Shinmatata, Lunacy, Candy Cane, MJ and Macedonian will round out the top 10 all on softs. Ninja Penguin P11 struggling a little bit after that first race, where he absolutely killed it out front. Installator, Artie Cheng's DBT with that 5th place, Debut Carbon, Dan the Racer. Suscus only ended up on the medium, so didn't set a soft time. Honest Cook, P Wild right, and then F1 Boy, who crashed into the pit entry and didn't manage to set a better lap than a 1:11.7. So that's the grid. That's going to make for an interesting race. And it is beautiful and sunny, so I wonder if, yeah, it's going to be like this for the entire race. That might make the strategy a bit easier on these guys. But yeah, as you wait for them to select their tyres, select their fuel, you can either run over and just push, or you can try and run under and send a little bit. See what these guys come up with, but it is blue skies for now. We'll have to see how long it stays blue skies. Just waiting for them to load in. We're just checking out a few strategy options. A lot of these guys will be unfamiliar with the strategy, not having done league races here before, so a lot of learning for all races. As we've got the 15-second countdown. Looks like we're all good, fantastic. Get some telemetry and stuff up. Yeah, that thing's definitely fattened up, so we'll probably keep that a bit of this data off and we'll just check it as the race goes on. We will put the, we'll put the tyre selection on. So P1 to 10, obviously on those qualifying softs, Ninja Penguin and P11 has gone mediums. Insulated P12 has elected to go for the soft, so wanting a quick start. P13 down to P20 have all gone for the mediums, with the exception of the Renault, not the Renault, the McLaren of DBT, who is elected for the hards. We get some suggested strategies there, either soft to hard or medium to hard. But we have to see if any of these drivers will try and go for a soft medium. You don't really want to be running around here on 2 old tyres, just because it is so difficult and technical and punishing if you get it wrong. So we'll see who's, going to be the bravest with the strategy, but yeah, we'll have to see if these guys just want to play it safe for their first league race around Zandvoort. It's just coming around the final few corners. 36 lap race, so a lot can happen. You're going to have to be really focused and minimise those mistakes to keep a good result. As One Slick Mofo is just starting to back that field up now. So I'm just running through the order. I think our top 8 cars are all different constructors. So that's quite impressive. It shows that the teams are fairly balanced, which is really good to see. Yeah, no double ups in the top 8, which is great. The closest one to that is MJ, who's P9. So the Mercedes is probably the best qualifying overall, but it's good to see such a variety of cars up the front. If only real F1 was like that, but we can only dream and hope that one day it will be. But I mean, with equal cars, obviously it's just on raw pace, so it's good to see a colourful grid rather than just 2 black cars at the front, 2 white cars at the back. As these guys just slotting in P White, DBT, F1 Boy, getting into their grid slots. I'm not getting any sound. I'm going to pause and leave and then go back. Hopefully we get some game sound. There we go, that's better. Alright, 3, 4, 5 red lights obscured by that, which is annoying, but regardless, we are away and it looks like a fairly clean start so far. Our leaderboard's being a bit funny as per normal. It is One Sick Mofo who will lead in turn 1. Lots and lots of ghosting going on behind him, so I'm not sure what's happening there. We've got someone off. I think that's BMAC has got a bit of a tag, so we're trying to go 3 wide. These guys trying to make up some positions off the start because they know that track position is so important. But yeah, it looks like One Sick Mofo's gotten a really good start. Bit of scuffling at the back here, sort themselves out. I don't think anyone has really made any major mistake, which is really good to see. Everyone's gotten away fairly cleanly. Still a little bit of ghosting there, which is quite unusual. Not too sure what's happening there, as the leaderboard's starting to sort itself out now, and I think that is now correct. It is One Sick Mofo from X-Mort from Drow. Top 3, we've got IG Flow. BMAX lost a few positions, so he's going to want to get them back. And Shin Matata, Lunacy's held place. Macedonia managed to jump Candy Cane. So a few movers. It looks like MJ's going to try and dive down the inside. That is a 7.5. Going to get it stopped. No, he can't. He's going around. So he's tried to put it in there and it just doesn't quite work. Comes out on the track. Oh, it looks like IG Flow's gone around as well. Not too sure what happened to IG Flow, but yeah, MJ just being a bit enthusiastic on the brakes there, and he's collected himself, which is a shame. It is One Sick Mofo has not set the fastest lap on the first lap, which is interesting. Maybe he's gotten a penalty for something. It is X-Mort with the fastest lap, which is, I'm not sure if that's just a bug, it could be, as it looks like we've got a bit of action back here. Lunacy and BMAC going side by side. BMAC will take it. It looks like Macedonia is going to try and hold it. Oh, Lunacy's lost the back end slightly, but he's just held onto it. XIG Flow's been disqualified. I'm not sure what's happened there. He's in the pit lane. No, he's not in the pit lane. He's been removed. I'm not sure. Jeez, okay. That's a real shame for IG Flow, who was running in the top 5 before he went off the track there, due to either a mistake or a bit of a collision. But yeah, already down 19 drivers, and his teammate Ninja Penguin is right back as well. So Honest Cook and Ninja Penguin already making pit stops to let them go to the hard tyres. So they've had a couple of incidents as well by the looks of things. We'll get this gap up interval as Macedonian and Lunacy look like still trying to sort each other out. Macedonian hanging on for now, but Lunacy in hot pursuit, obviously P2 and P3 in the championship for now. One Sick Mofo does set the fastest lap of the race on lap 2. So maybe we did have a bit of a glitch there on lap 1. X-Mort's already dropped 1 second, the Drow's dropped 1.5. So those top 3, or those top 2 especially, are really starting to shoot away. And Drow is trying to gap a Shuna Matata. Yeah, a lot of big gaps early on. The closest gap up the front is Lunacy and Macedonian, who look very similar on pace. Everyone in front of them starting to stretch themselves out a bit. And likewise behind, there's a bit of a battle pack there, but a few big gaps starting to form already. So let's hope that these guys can find some flow and start to close in on each other as we jump on board with Lunacy through this fast section. Of course, with the heavier car, it's a little bit difficult, to keep it clean initially because you're used to zinging it around in quality with a light fuel load. As Ninja Penguin has retired from the session, he's put it in the wall, I think, on the exit of the last corner. And that's brought out a virtual safety car. So both AlphaTauris out in 3 laps. So that's a real shame for their constructors' fight. And of course both of them have really good pace anyway, so yeah, I think a little bit of weirdness has happened there. I'm not too sure why he's been disqualified, IG Flow, and it looks like Ninja Penguin's just put it in the wall on fresh hards, cold hards, fuel tank. I'll check the race director to see if it gives us a reason for the disqualification. Lots of warnings. Wrong way. Okay, so maybe he's gone around. He's gone around and he's tried to flick it back but hasn't done it in time. So that's really unfortunate for IG Flow. Obviously a little bug that might need to be fixed, as we've got a couple of guys getting penalties already, so that of course also going to be a factor come the end of the race. Jump on board with the Shuna Matata, who's trying to close him on Drow. He's not going to be close enough to make a move in the next couple of laps, so we might leave that battle. Looks like Debut Carbon and Candy Cane are getting nice and close in that tight midfield battle. As I think, Insulator just went round, so Insulator has caught a bit of grass, I think, and he has made a mistake. He looks like he's got his front wing still, which is really, really lucky, as Macedonian has to make, avoiding action. I think I missed something as well. Macedonian's ended up right down here, so it looks like he's had an off as well. He was right up there fighting with Lunacy for P6 and P7, so yeah, lots and lots happening. I'm sorry not quite capturing it all, but there's just so much happening around the track as Dan the Racer and Debut Carbon are going side by side. into the penultimate corner. Davy Carbon will go round the outside as up the front Yoshino Matata and Drow trying to sort themselves out for that podium spot. A bit of early supremacy. Yoshino Matata will dive it down the inside. Drow will try and switch it back. We'll stay on the board with these guys. Side by side through here, nice and tight and twisty. Who's going to give in? It will be Drow. Yoshino Matata will take that position as behind them Lunacy managed to get past VMAC as well. The racing points together. Also trying to sort themselves out. Suscuss as well. Suscuss will try and go down the inside. Can he make it stick? No, he can't. Suscuss on the mediums as well as those two racing points. So a fair bit of action to start off with here actually. We'll jump aboard with VMAC, who's right on the back of Lunacy. These guys both showing some really good pace in the opening stages of this season. Battling for P5 at the moment. The gap between Lunacy and Drow is really big. So yeah, those top four looking like they're starting to check out a little bit, as looks like the racing points are starting to have a bit of a scuffle again. They got to be careful it doesn't allow Suscuss to get past them. Suscuss having a good race last week, coming from P18 last to P2 as Ali Cheng's lets him go. It looks like we've got DVT's gone round as well, so he's lost a couple of positions too. So yeah, real chaotic start to this race. MJ chasing down F1 boy, MJ on soft. So it looks like he's made a mistake as well somewhere, because I'm pretty sure MJ qualified in the top 10. We'll check the positions gained. Positions gained, yeah, so our biggest winners so far are Debut Carbon down the race of Suscuss. PY Right have all gained 6, F1 Boy has gained 7, now 8 due to PY's pit stop. Biggest losers, BMAC with 4 down and MJ with 4 down, Macedonian with 5 down. So you've got more yellows. I think that's Mercedes. Oh, it's Drow. Drow has gone round from P4. Wow, so that's massive. He's got damage as well. So these guys really struggling at the moment to keep it on the track. He's going to unghost in the middle of a big pack. F1 Boy is not going to choose to go past him, which is interesting. We'll have to jump on board and see why. So MJ's right behind as well. So Drow's obviously got that damage. He's going to be really slow through this middle sector. He's going to let his teammate pass. No, he's going to fight them all. Oh, he's nearly run to the back of F1 Boy as well there. So Drow will be very, very frustrated at the moment. Dropping it out of P4. I wonder if he and who was it up there as well? Him and Yoshino Matata, I think it was, having a bit of a fight, as MJ is going to dive down the inside of his teammate. He's going to put him in the grass. So that's... Oh, and DVT's shoved his way through as well, and that's just, yeah, rubbing store salt into the wound. So a lot of push to pass here. Fairly aggressive. MJ diving down there twice in a row, and then DVT trying to send it to us. Macedonian is going to try and get him down the straight, and he's done it. So Macedonian, I think he's going to go for a double move, and MJ kind of defends it, but kind of doesn't. But he outbreaks him massively. MJ trying to hold it around the outside, and Macedonian has to give in as DVT is not quite close enough to capitalise on these two scuffling. Put the interval gap up again. Macedonian and MJ trying to sort themselves out. MJ got a good run out of there and is close to the F1 Boy now, who is sitting in P11 actually after starting from the back of the grid. So it's been a really good start for F1 Boy, just keeping his nose clean and keeping himself out of trouble. So he's done well. As I said, he runs a bit wide and MJ gets right into the back of him. So we'll stay on board with MJ. We're probably going to see him move into here. I don't think anyone in front is really going to make a move for now, so we'll stay with this battle. MJ obviously losing a couple of positions and trying to gain them back. F1 Boy being the biggest climb. MJ's going to send it again, third time this race. F1 Boy is going to have to let him go. Oh, he's overcooked it. MJ's overcooked it. Can F1 Boy get around on the outside again? He can. So, oh, and there's a Haas and McLaren round, and they've had another come together, those two. Macedonian and DBT. I think Macedonian's got a bit loose on power there and it's just turned into DBT. Kind of unfortunately, but it's good to see that they're both still running this race. I don't think they've got damage, which is good to see. Insulator will try and make a move on DBT, another guy who had a pretty poor start. Sends it down the inside. That is a send and a half, mate. DBT will get him back on the switchback and squeeze him off the track. So DBT on those hard tyres as opposed to Insulator soft. So Insulator will probably have the pace advantage, though he's locking up. Wow, he's gone really deep there. So Insulator's really pushing, trying to make the most of those softs, but he's just got to keep it yielded in a tiny bit and make sure he doesn't make those mistakes. We'll put the tyres back up again. Sorry, the gaps, and we'll put the tyres up. Yep. So top 6 still on the soft tyre. Debut Carbon leads the medium runners for now. So not in the worst position actually, Debut Carbon. As him and Suscuss going side by side. We'll jump to that battle. So this is the effective leader of the medium runners. Suscuss getting that move done. Debut Carbon having to concede there. So a lot of moves into that corner. Actually, I kind of wrote it off in qualifying for it being an overtaking spot. It's our biggest... Oh, Candy Cane's lost it on the gravel, and that's Suscuss through, and he's going to get a poor run, and that's probably going to let David Carbon through as well. Yep, so that really hurts for Candy Cane. Of course, on those soft tyres, still got a bit of grip in them. But yeah, just making a mistake there, going in too hot and getting into that dirt on the penultimate corner. He's done well to hold it through the bank corner. Actually, you can lose if you get a bit loose there, but he's done well there. Macedonian F1 boy still having to tussle, bit of contact there, but nothing too bad. Macedonian will, I think, make that overtake. I think F1 boy was just ahead of him before that. But yeah, plenty of things to keep an eye on. There's David Carbon and Suscuss for the leader medium runners. Candy Cane will be quite frustrated with himself after that little mistake. But he's got plenty of time still to make up ground. Only lap 9 out of 36, so only 1/4 of the way through this race. Plenty of time for things to happen. Down the race, Renati Cheng's looks like they've finally sorted out who's going to be ahead of who. Racing Point not really following any team orders. Kind of like real life a couple of years ago with Sergio Perez and Esteban Ocon kind of running into each other, no one telling them what to do. But it looks like Otmar has told these guys to just settle down a tiny bit and try and get into the rhythm of this race, which is really important. Rhythm's going to be so important around here. I'm just trying to keep it clean, trying to keep the pace up. But interesting to see if any of these soft runners pit in the next few laps. Go soft to hard strategy as well, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. In terms of the front guys, we've got a 4-second lead, almost 3.5 seconds between OneSec Mofo and X-Mort, as the Racing Points have decided to not follow Otmar's orders, and they're still trying to race each other. So Racing Point's getting nice and racy at the moment. Let's hope they don't have it coming together, because that will be a pretty awkward post-race meeting, I think, in that Racing Point garage. As down the race, they did pick up a 3-second penalty there. We'll have to keep an eye on those as they come in down the back. It looks like Drow's made a pit stop for hards. P1 to right will jump to P17 on soft tyres, so he's definitely going to have to stop again. Those hard runners, Drow can make it to the end. Honest Cook, it'd be pretty close. I don't think DBT will make it to the end, so those guys all might have to make another stop as well. But yeah, I was saying gas at the front. OneSec Mofo totally in control at the moment, 3.5 seconds ahead of X-Mort. Who in turns 1.8 seconds, 1.7 seconds behind Ashuna Matata. Lunacy is 5.5 seconds, and VMAC is just hanging on to DRS, looks like he's just out of it. And then another 2 seconds back to Suscuss, and then, yeah, it's the Suscuss train. These guys kind of just hanging on to the back, all kind of within that 0.7 to 1.2 seconds range, so kind of toggling between DRS and not, so... a few gaps to keep an eye on. Looks like F1 Boy and Insulator are having a bit of a scuffle again. I think Insulator made that move, so F1 Boy's dropped back down to P15. Those soft tyres of Insulator will still be okay the next probably lap or two, and then yeah, he'll probably want to get rid of them. F1 Boy can probably do a lot more laps. He can get to probably the low 20s on his tyres before he has to pit, but it'll depend on what strategy he wants to do. If he does go mediums to hards, then he might pit earlier. Or the other way around, he could try and stretch them out and possibly go softs at the end of the race. So it will be interesting to see what these medium runners will do. Suscuss, David Carbon, Artie Chengs and Dan Race are currently the medium runners in the points, and then F1 Boy just behind us. We've got a McLaren around, that's DBT, so he's dropped on the danger curb, which is really unfortunate on those hard tyres. Hasn't had the best race so far. A couple of little incidents and a couple of mistakes there. As BMAC and Lunacy's going to be the first one in, so he has come into the pits and he'll put on the hard tyres. So first one of the top guys to blink. We'll see where he comes out on track. He'll be hoping for no traffic, as MJ behind will pit as well. Lunacy's going to come out. Will he be ahead of Macedonian? I think he will be just. Where is he? Yeah. What's that? About 2-3 seconds, 2.5 seconds. So that's good for Lunacy to get in front of Macedonian there. He's got a nice gap in front of him where he can, yeah, start to just get some rhythm back. He's got 9 seconds to down the racer ahead, so Lunacy can just be looking forward. Macedonian's not going to be right behind him at the moment, so he doesn't have to look back too much. So Lunacy's got himself in a good position. X-Mort, OneSec Mofo, Shinamatara, BMAC, they're going to have to react at some point. If you want to go to mediums, then you probably have to take the softs to lap 14, lap 15, if you want any chance of getting to the end. and if you're going to go hard, you just need to pit now, I think, so you can make the most of the tyres. Looks like they're all trying to stay out, so One Seat Mofo, Exmort, Ashuna Vitata, BMAC will come into the pit, so BMAC's going to respond to Lunacy, the top three electing to stay out. That promotes Suscuss up into P4. Candy Cane as well on those soft tyres will come into the pit, so will they put on mediums? Oh, BMAC's getting a wing change, so he's made contact with someone somewhere, and he will go on the hard tyres, so he's going to lose a lot of ground to Lunacy, who's already gone past him. Candy Cane has also jumped BMAC, so that's really hurt BMAC having to get that wing changed, but he's got plenty of pace. We'll have to see if he can get that position, that track position back on him. As I think it was F1 Boy just coming through. BMAC going to come in just behind, so we've got a bit of lag there. Let's hope that doesn't play a factor in these little battles here. So F1 Boy is a bit split in some of these hard runners. It'll be interesting to see if BMAC can close up and pass him, because those mediums are still going to be pretty good. The grip will be fine, but obviously BMAC, very quick driver in this tier, he's going to want to make light work. So Candy Cane's struggling a little bit with the hard grip, BMAC's closing Lunacy. So BMAC will be trying to make up that ground that he lost, as Suscuss will get a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. One Seat Mofo comes into the pits out of the lead, he's going to put on the hards as well. So these guys deciding to play it relatively safe, making sure they're guaranteed to get to the end without tyre problems. It would be interesting to see what kind of wear the soft runners have. The only ones left who haven't pit from those softs is Exmort and Ashuna Matata, so they're ones to watch, as I think we got Debut Carbon, just coming out of the pits as well. F1 Boy, Candy Cane going side by side, and the Red Bull of BMAC right there as well. We're going to go... That's a good move there from Candy Cane, getting around the outside. Once F1 Boy, sucks the nose in there. So good defense there from the Alfa Romeo driver of Candy Cane. BMAC not quite being able to make the most of that yet. Just picked up another 3 seconds. He's really struggling at the moment. Of course, after being in P4, I think it was, before spinning out. Real shame there. We've seen a lot of guys spin out around here at other races as well. Tier 3 we had a couple, a few other league races. I've seen a lot of kind of unforced errors just because of driver unfamiliarity, and also just because the track is so unforgiving. So it'll be interesting to see how much these guys push, whether they want to take a chance and really try and gain some time, or whether they play it a little bit safer, stay within the track limits, respect the track, and have a clean races. Exmort and Ashuna Matata, our last soft runners, will come into the pits. That promotes Suscuss into the lead, and Artie Chengs will jump into P3 once Mofo has managed to get ahead of Artie Chengs, so he is free to go chase down Suscuss, as BMAC and F1 Boy are going side by side again. BMAC getting past him fairly comfortably, F1 Boy not putting up too much of a fight. So now BMAC can worry about chasing down Candy Cane, who is probably more his race. F1 Boy not on the same strategy. Down the Racer came into the pits as well. His teammate hasn't pit yet. So Down the Racer was on the mediums actually, so that's quite early to go to the hards, although he probably just wants to make the most of the grip while he's got it. So I think if you're on the mediums, you'd want to wait maybe 1 or 2 more laps, just so you can really push those hards and make up that time you lost in the first stint being on harder tyres. We'll give a little bit of love to these guys at the back. Macedonian seem to be struggling a tiny bit down in P15. He has made his pit stop recently, so he'll jump a few more positions when the likes of F1 Boy, DBT and MJ will come into the pits. But obviously winning last week's race due to keeping it clean and being on the right tyre at the right time, he'll be hoping for at least the top 10 to back that up. P15's not quite going to cut it. If Macedonian wants to prove to this tier that he's the real deal, he's going to want to gain a few more positions. We'll have to see how that plays out, as he is hunting down Installator, who's pit for mediums. So Installator is the brave one. He's going to take these mediums to the end. I think 20 laps is doable, so we'll have to keep an eye on that pace. It'll be quicker for now. It looks like Macedonian is actually reeling him in a bit, but Installator theoretically should be a lot quicker than these hard runners at the moment. It's just a matter of whether those tyres will fall off the cliff at the end and how much speed those hards can retain throughout the entire stint. Installator's still really pushing. You can see him locking up a fair bit as we're on board with the Macedonian. Got the best view in the house for Installator. Get that exit, So Macedonian's actually showing some decent pace to stay with Installator, so we'll have to keep an eye on that battle. We might see a little bit of action a bit later on. We'll jump up to Ashuna Matata and Exmort, who are exchanging positions. Ashuna Matata made a bit of a send at the DRS straight there. I'm not sure if they made any contact there, but it looks like they've both gotten up pretty well. So good move there from Ashuna Matata in the McLaren. That's the net P2, considering that P1 and P3 Suscas and Artie still haven't pit yet. So that's an important move for the podium. We'll have to see if Exmort can stay with Ashuna Matata or whether Ashuna Matata can start to gap Exmort a little bit. Lunacy is only 2.5 seconds back on Exmort, so Lunacy's gained a little bit of time as well. Of course, being the first one to pit, he would have had the fresh tyres sooner, so he would have been able to undercut them slightly, but that also means he will have the worst tyres at the end of the race, so a bit of a double-edged sword. But Lunacy, obviously a quick driver in this tier, probably a championship contender, at least a top 3 driver, so he'll be wanting to close in on these guys ahead. Davey Carbon, Candy Cane kind of gapping each other. 4 seconds or 5 seconds from Lunacy to Carbon, and 4 seconds between Candy Cane and Carbon ahead. VMAC is right at the back for Candy Cane as well. Both of them still trying to find a bit of flow. Looks like they're missing a few apexes and stuff, so we'll have to, they'll have to try and get a little bit of rhythm, try and hit a bit more of those apexes, get the power down, get the braking points right, and then they can start to launch a few attacks at each other. Looks like Davey Carbon's actually struggling a bit for pace. He's just dropped down to 5.2 seconds from Lunacy as well, so that's showing that Lunacy's got some good pace. He's actually closed on Exmort as well, so it looks like Lunacy might be one of the quickest drivers on the track at the moment. We'll jump on board with One Slip Mofo at the front. Haven't given him much airtime yet because he's been blossoming it up the front of the field, qualifying on pole and being in a net P1, trying to chase down Suscas, who is P1 due to not having pit yet. He's on 17 lap old mediums, so if he can take those another 7-8 laps, then he can put on the softs. Probably even less. If he can take them maybe 5 laps, you might be able to get away with softs for 12-13 laps. So Suscas and Artie Changs look like they're both going to try and go for that medium to soft strategy, so they'll be really quick at the end of the race. They'll be ones to watch trying to tear through that field. Check the gap to the leader. So if they pit now, the pit delta's fairly small. They'll probably come out about, or Suscas come out about P7, P8, and he's in a good position to launch. As it looks like One Slip Mofo will make the move. Fairly comfortable. Suscas doesn't really fight it, knows it's not really his race. But now Suscas will really want to try and hang on to the back of One Slip Mofo for as long as possible. Easier said than done being on 18 lap old tyres now, but yeah, it's really important for Suscas to maintain a bit of pace so he doesn't drop too far down the field, and yeah, makes his life a bit easier as he tries to overtake people as VMAC and Candy Cane going side by side. Sorry, we'll jump off board there, my bad. Wrong click of the button. Looks like VMAC has gotten that move done, so VMAC trying to make amends for that time he lost in the pits, having to change that front wing. Candy Cane in a solid P9 at the moment. Qualified in the top 10, still in the top 10, so it's been a good race so far from Candy Cane. If he can maintain his pace, then he should be pretty comfortably in the points. We'll have to see as well if Candy Cane can hang on to the back of VMAC. Suscas still managed to stay within a second of One Slip Mofo at the front, so that's quite promising for Suscas' pace. So he might actually be one to watch right towards the end of the race. If he can get out kind of in between those Red Bulls and that kind of gap there, P7, he'll only be about 18 seconds off the lead, and he'll be on incredibly quick tyres. He'll only be 15, 16, 17 seconds off a podium. Sorry, less than that. He'll only be 12, 13, 14 seconds off a podium, so I reckon Suscas and Artie Changs actually have given themselves a real chance to get some good results. They've managed to keep some good track position in P2 and P3 respectively. It's a nice helmet there from Suscas, got that Galaxy helmet. But yeah, they've got themselves in a good position to really launch a real attack, because the guys around them will be on those slow, hard tyres. He's got some yellows. Who's that? That's P White, right? So he's... I was a bit worried. I thought it might be One Slip Mofo for a sec. I just saw a Renault in front. So P White's dropped it, and he's going to have to yield to his teammate as well as to Suscas now being a lap down. So that's quite frustrating for P White, not having the best of races this week. Wonder if he's got any damage. Can't really see from this heli shot. From here it looks like his front wing's okay, so it looks like he's just dropped it. Yeah, that looks okay. So
frustrating for P White, but I mean, he's still got a bit of time. Hopefully a few things can go his way as Suscuss will come into the pits. Artie Cheng selects to stay out another lap. So Suscuss, he'll put on the softs, so wow, he's going to try and go 16 laps on those softs, so that's going to be a real stretch. Yeah, I think if he stayed out 2-3 more laps, he would have given himself a better chance, but maybe he was just really struggling on those mediums and he's felt that he didn't get off them. So yeah, now, yeah, it's up to him to chase down that time again, but also try and look after his tyres. He managed to get ahead of David Carbon, actually. I thought the pit delta would be a little bit longer as MJ and DBT are going side by side. We've got more yellows. That looks like a Ferrari. I think that's Honest Cook has dropped at the final corner. Whichever board. Yeah, it is Honest Cook. And he's just put his car in the wall and he's lost the wheel. And that has brought out the virtual safety car. So, wow, this is fantastic for Artie. So Artie's going to get a discounted pit stop, and he's going to put on those soft tyres. Same deal as Suscuss, they're going to be really dead by the end of the race, but he's got to pit now while he's got the free time, and if he can get those tyres to the end, the soft tyres, then Artie Cheng could also be on for a podium as P White Alright gets a drive-through penalty for speeding on the safety car, just to, yeah, a bit of icing on the cake for what's been a really poor race so far. Not quite keeping it clean as Macedonian and Dan the Racer made a bit of a pass. I'm not sure if that was on the safety car. I'm pretty sure I saw those arrows move while the yellow flag was still up, but I'm not sure. I'm sure the game will tell Macedonian to give it back if it was illegal. Artie Cheng's coming to the pits. He'll only gain a little bit of time because that VSC didn't last too long. He's going to get out right in front of BMAC. Artie Cheng's actually put on hards, so yeah, that's interesting. I wonder if that's a mistake or if that was always the plan. If you're going to put on the hards, you would have pit probably 10 laps ago almost. Probably 7-8 laps ago. So that's an interesting strategy call from Artie Cheng's, but I mean, he's going to have all the grip he wants to send it, so those tyres aren't going to wear out. So he's probably felt that those softs aren't going to make it to the end. Which, yeah, I'm not sure they will. So maybe it is not the worst call to go to hards for Artie Cheng's. He's on the same compound of tyre as all the guys around him, with the exception of Suscuss. So he's put himself into a P7. So yeah, maybe it is the right call to go to hards for him. He doesn't feel those softs are going to make it. Suscuss really pushing into overtake through the back section, so he's trying to make up as much time as he can while he's got the life of those soft tyres. Puts him the fastest lap of 1:12.199. That's comfortably the fastest lap. We've got more yellows. I think that is a Mercedes. It's not MJ, it looks like it's Drow. He might have gone round again as Insulator gets another time penalty. We'll put up the interval again, see who's closest on track. Looks like Candy Cane, BMAC and Artie Cheng's getting nice and cozy. BMAC trying to gain up that time again. Artie Cheng's obviously just pitting, getting in front. So that could be quite a close battle as the race comes to a close in the next 20 minutes or so. We will have to keep an eye on that battle. We'll give a bit of love to these top guys though. One Sick Mofo absolutely bossing it at the front, killing anything that comes in his way. 7 seconds to Ashina Matata now, who's jumped himself up into P2. Lunacy's jumped into P3, so he's managed to get a few positions in the pit stops. He's got more yellows. That looks like Drow again, so Drow's really struggling at the moment. Yeah, not really having the grip on those hard tyres. But yeah, it looks like Exmort dropped a couple of positions in the pit stops there, as Suscuss is now right on his tail on those fresh softs. It'll be interesting to see if he can make it to the end. But yeah, make the most of the grip while you've got it. Suscuss is looking real racy, and Lunacy's not that far up the road either, so this is going to be really interesting to see if Suscuss can get those positions and then hold it again. He's got more yellows. That looks like it's Candy Cane. Candy Cane's gone round. So that's allowed Macedonian right up to his back. It looks like Candy Cane's managed to escape damage free, so that's a good thing. But yeah, we're starting to see lots of mistakes from drivers now. The last kind of 2-3 laps, we've seen lots of guys going round, lots of mistakes, a few 3-second penalties, people getting a bit unfocused. As we've got another yellow flag, and now it is a full safety car. Drow has DNF'd. I'm not going to be able to view him because P White's too far back. If we jump aboard with Lunacy, I think we might spot it. Oh, so he's gone on the inside. Looks like he's spun up the rears on the exit of the third to last corner and put it in the wall, and that's going to cause a full safety car. Once it Mofo's in, Ashuna Matata will also come in. Put on the soft side, these guys, but once it Mofo's elected for mediums, so he's going to be able to push the entire race. Lunacy will come in, Exmort will come in, Suscus is also... Oh, geez, if I was Suscus, I would have stayed out there. Even though his tyres are old, or older, and they might not have made it to the end. I think the 3 laps that you save under the safety car, I reckon he would have been able to push those to the end. So that is interesting. He'll be P6 on fresh softs, which I guess is a good thing. Exmort in front has gone on to fresh mediums, but if I was Suscus, I would have stayed out. Plenty of other guys pitting down the race are, well, not one of those guys, staying out on the hards. Debut Carbon as well in P2, staying out on hards, so he's going to fall like a rock, unless he can put on some stellar defensive moves towards the end of this race. But yeah, this has kind of thrown a bit of a spanner in the works. It's going to let some of those guys who've had some average races, a few mistakes, get back up to the pack and give them a chance to, yeah, collect something from this race. But yeah, late safety car always makes things interesting. Rosario, thanks for tuning in. What are the times of the top pack? Well, we were watching Suscus, he was setting low 12s on those fresh softs. We'll have a look at the times that One Seat Mofo's been doing. I think we can check it in the race director. Pretty consistent low 13s. Being our leader, he was the quickest gun on track. Debut Carbon, high 13s, low 14s. He was in the middle of the pack. Ashuna Matata, kind of mid 13s as well. So those are the kind of lap times these cars are pulling in, which is pretty reasonable. One Seat Mofo's been consistently up into those low 13s by the looks of things. So some pretty decent times. Good to see you in chat as well, Prezzo. Back in Legacy, P4 fresh softs. He'll have another shot at trying to get Ashuna Matata and One Seat Mofo, who kind of ran away into the distance a little bit. He's got Exmort behind him on mediums as well, so it's a real chance for Lunacy to make a few positions up. But yeah, one big roadblock is going to be Debut Carbon on those old hards. So One Seat Mofo's got a real chance to pull away quickly. Ashuna Matata and Lunacy are going to have to get past as soon as possible if they want any chance of, yeah, getting the race win. We will check penalties actually while we're on the safety car. Mofo's clean. Debut Carbon's clean. Ashuna Matata has 3 warnings. One would be the collision, I think. Lunacy's only got the 1. Exmort's got 1 warning. So Suscus is the highest placed driver with a penalty. He's only got 3 seconds. Artie, oh, was that a drive-through? I just got a drive-through, so that's really not good for the Racing Point driver. His teammate's got a penalty, and BMAC is 1 warning away, and MJ's got a couple of penalties, including a drive-through. I'm not sure if that's been served or not yet. So most of these guys keeping it nice and clean, which is good to see as the safety car is coming in this lap. So penalties not playing too much of a factor for now, with the exception of a couple of drivers. We'll jump on board with One Seat Mofo. Actually, we'll jump on board with I reckon we jump on board with Lunacy so we can see these top 3. We'll see if One Seat Mofo can gap the field and if Debut Carbon can hold on to his spots, as One Seat Mofo's picked up a 5-second penalty. Wow, that's got massive implications for this race, as we've got destruction and chaos and everything at the back. I think down the race put it in the wall. Someone else has gone round, Macedonia's gone round, so chaos on the safety car restart. That was pretty wild. We jump up the front, looks like Suscus and Exmort going side by side. Suscus trying to send it, oh, not quite. Sorry, my bad, Exmort trying to send it. Suscus made that move on those softs, so that's quite important. David Carbon's managed to hold on to P2 for now, and Ashuna Matata's right in his tail. Look at this. Ashuna Matata's got to be desperate to get past David Carbon. Will he send it? Not quite. Oh, he's tagged the back of him. I wonder if he's going to pick up a tiny bit of damage for that, but this is just allowing One Seat Mofo 1.3 seconds already clear. So One Seat Mofo, if he's going to want to win this race on track, he's going to have to get 5 seconds ahead now, because David Carbon went to the back of him and he got that penalty. So One Stick Mofo should be able to get that removed post-race, but still you'd rather win it on track if you can. Lunacy right behind, Suscus right behind as well. Suscus looks like he's got really good pace, managed to get past Exmort and already close the gap to Lunacy. Exmort, BMAC on those fresh mediums, obviously backing the yellow tyres over the red tyres. As you've got more yellows, that looks like, I think that's P White, we won't worry about that for now. Dan the Racer and MJ have pulled themselves up in the points positions for staying out, but Candy K is going to have a say in that. So will his teammate Installator. Candy K will drive alongside MJ. Probably will have the grip into turn 1 later on the brakes. MJ turns in. Oh, that was a bit interesting from MJ there. Turned in a bit too early there, but Candy Cane has made the move done. His teammate Installator will want to make that move as soon as possible. Shima Tata's managed to get past Debut Carbon. Excuse me. And Lunacy's going to want to as well. So Lunacy, Suscus, looks like they've managed to gap Exmort a little bit. We'll stay on board with Lunacy through this fast section. Look how much more grip he's got compared to Debut Carbon, but he's just unable to find a way past. Track being so narrow, no real heavy braking zones to get alongside. So Lunacy's going to be getting really patient at the moment. Looks like he's got the run here. He should send it down the inside. Is he going to stay? He will send it. A little bit of side bump in there. That's pretty much impossible to go side by side through there. We'll jump aboard with Suscus, who's right behind the pair of them. Debut Carbon won't be too happy about that. Bit of a push to pass, but Lunacy's obviously got major paces. Installator's gone around. We've got an instant at the back here. Installator's gone around. Looks like he might have gotten caught up with a couple of other drivers. There's a few big gaps at the bottom here. Artie Cheng's DVT, F1 boy. Some of them might have got caught up as well. As long as Mofo sets the quickest lap of the race, DRS is enabled. Lunacy, of course, managed to get past Suscus, past Debut Carbon, and Suscus will be next in line. This battling has allowed Exmort back into the fight though, same with BMAC. Keep in mind Suscus does have 3 seconds, so he's going to drop if he can't make a few gaps. Debut Carbon's done pretty well actually to stay in P4 after a few laps, considering the age of his tyres and the compounds. So Debut Carbon's looking really good. He's put himself in a good position by not pitting. It should be a matter of whether he can hold these guys off, as the gap up the front is shrunk to 1.6 seconds. So Shima Matata has managed to get past and then kind of hold even with One Stick Mofo. The Renault did set the fastest lap, but Shima Matata did not lose that much ground. So at the moment, as we stand, One Stick Mofo is going to drop to P5 because of his 5-second penalty. Actually P4 because Suscus has one too. So that's going to really hurt him, as looks like Candy Cane down the race of BMAC. Suscus, Exmort all getting nice and close together. DBT and F1 Boy going side by side. A bit of contact there. I think DBT sent it and F1 Boy has had to kind of bail out of it slightly. We'll jump aboard with Suscus as he's going to hunt down Debut Carbon. A little bit of weaving there. Exmort trying to follow behind as well. We'll jump aboard with Exmort actually. He's going to have a good view of this. Suscus can't quite get alongside Artie Chains, gets a 3-second time penalty for cutting. He's down in 13th. So that's not going to help his chances of getting points. Suscus right at the back of Debut Carbon. Yeah, you can see how much pace Debut Carbon's losing. Already 2.5 seconds down on Lunacy, who is 1.3 seconds down on Shima Matata. We've got more yellows. I think that's P White right again. So really struggling at the moment, the Renault driver. Not quite getting the hang of this track yet. Yeah, it's a shame for the Renault. One Renault right at the front and one right at the back. So I guess it balances out, but still not good for P White, who will obviously be disappointed. This race hasn't quite gone to plan, as Suscus can't quite get close enough to make a move on Debut Carbon yet. Macedonian sets to start the race. I think he came into the pits because he was involved at that safety car restart incident. Debut Carbon is going to have to get a really good exit here that keeps Suscus behind. Debut Carbon and Suscus both on similar ERS, just checking the ERS there. Suscus will have all the grip in the world for braking. Can he get close enough to make a genuine move? As looks like he will, yeah, round the outside will go off board. Can he hold it? Turns in a little bit actually again, but he should be able to get around the outside. He does. Debut Carbon drops down to P5, but if he can stay within that 3 seconds of Suscus, then he will get that position back. Of course, Suscus with that 3-second penalty. In the meantime, I noticed Lunacy's closed right at the back of Shima Matata. Shima Matata, I think, has made a mistake on this lap, because he's lost a second to One Stick Mofo, and he's lost a second behind as well to Lunacy. So Shima Matata feeling the heat from the Ferrari driver of Lunacy, who was sitting in P4, P5 for most of this race, but now he has a real sniff at a P2, and I'm sure he's going to take every chance that comes his way to get that position. Shima Matata had a pretty solid race overall as well. He definitely deserves to be on that podium. He'll be not wanting to concede to Lunacy. These two should be safe from Suskus behind on track as well as with that penalty. Debut Carbon doing well to hang on to P5 for now. Exmort and BMAC now medium runners, so a bit less of a discrepancy between tyres there. So Debut Carbon will be hoping to keep these two in front, I think. If he can stay in P5, I think that would be a fantastic result for Debut Carbon, considering he wasn't really in this front group for the safety car and he's taken the gamble to stay out. But we'll have to wait and see. Still 5 laps left, plenty can happen. We've already seen lots happen in a very short amount of time. BMAC right behind Exmort and Debut Carbon as well. You can see Exmort so much more grip through the first few corners there. See what the exit's like. We'll jump aboard again. So F1 Boy and DBT are having more of a scuffle. DBT losing a couple of positions down from 11th to 13th. Exmort not quite close enough really to make a lunge on Debut Carbon. Debut Carbon's quick in the right places, which is good. He's got more yellows. I think that is towards back to the grid again. We'll stay on board with this, as I think DBT has retired his car, which is a shame. I'll just have to go down and check that. Who was that? I think it's P White. Has he put it in the wall? I'm not sure. I think he might have retired on track, which is naughty. We'll stay on board with Lunacy though, as he's chasing down Shuna Matata. P2 on the line. Shuna Matata taking plenty of that inside curve, but gets a good run anyway. I wonder if Lunacy, he's really pushing, he's pretty much out of ARS. The Shuna Matata will aggressively defend the inside. Can Lunacy get close enough? I reckon he'll have a go. He's going to try and outbrake him. Shuna Matata goes nice and deep. Lunacy will try to switch back. Gets a lot of that curve. You don't want to touch too much of that, or that can really send you around. Shuna Matata manages to hang on, but look how defensive he has to drive to keep the Ferrari of Lunacy behind. Shuna Matata under pressure. Look at that. Lunacy gets a fantastic run out of the first sector corner there. I can't remember the name of it. I think it's turn 4, turn 5. Too close to make a lunge here. Not really an overtaking zone unless you want to kind of kill everybody, which is not going to be the plan for a P2 battle. Shuna Matata looks like he's really struggling at the moment. Lunacy is on the aggression at the moment, on the aggressive. Shuna Matata is really struggling to hit apexes now, so Lunacy's got all the advantage on his side. Big for the championship as well, with his main roles around him having poor races. So this could be a real strong race for Lunacy. Of course, P1 and P3 in the championship, Penguin and Macedonian both out of the points for now. So Lunacy will be wanting to make the most of this situation. Can he get him this time? Shuna Matata goes defensive again. Debut Carbon gets 3 seconds, so that's going to hurt his chances of staying in that top 5. Lunacy will go around the outside, will jump off board. Shuna Matata is deep on the brakes. Lunacy will try to switch back again. Can he get it stuck? Side by side. Oh, and there's contact. Lunacy's around. Oh, that's a real shame for Ferrari. Where's he going to come back? He's going to have to let guys go. He should be able to get back on track now in P7. But yeah, too wide through there was always going to be questionable. That's a real shame for Lunacy though. That's a podium gone. He won't have a chance to get that back, which is really disappointing for him. Shuna Matata didn't really do anything wrong. There was just not too much space there. I think he might have closed the door slightly, but I mean, it's not a place you can go 2 by 2 too wide easily, so you can't really blame him too much, as Exmort and Debut Carbon still in formation, BMAC right behind as well. Debut Carbon doing well to hold on to track position, but we did see he picked up a 3-second penalty, so Debut Carbon will drop positions. He should be able to drop. He should drop to P6 unless Lunacy can gain that time back. So it's still going to be a good result for Debut Carbon, but it's not going to be the top 5 that he would have been hoping for with that penalty. Up the front, once Mofo checked out, 3.5 seconds ahead of Shuna Matata. Suskus has actually closed that gap a little bit down to 2 seconds, but actually Suskus could still be on for a podium, you know, because Debut Carbon's 3.5 seconds back, Exmort's further back, so Suskus with that 3-second time penalty, he's not going to drop his position, so Suskus still has a podium on the cards. As Artie Ching's and F1 Boy down the back there are still going side by side. That looks a bit spicy. We might actually flip to that quickly. That looks almost 3 wide. As Artie gets pinched on the curb and his teammate, no, it's not his teammate, sorry, the Williams, it looked like a race point rear wing from my point of view there. F1 Boy will make that move back. Artie Cheng's not managing to get it stuck, as down the racer will come out on top compared to both of them. Looks like BMAX nice and close to Exmort as well, trying to make the most of this. Not really it's been a bit of a weird race with BMAX. Showed some good pace, but hasn't really been on the aggressive like enough to overtake people. He's been kind of there and thereabouts, but kind of been stuck with guys that are similar pace to him, so hasn't really been able to claw back through the field. Would have been interesting to see where he would have ended up without having to replace that front wing in the first stint. But P5 after the penalty should he should still be happy with that. Exmore right in the back of David Carbon. I don't think he's going to be close enough. David Carbon and Exmore both have pretty much no ERS at all. BMAC right behind him as well, so that's going to stay stagnant for another lap, as we are onto the final lap actually. So it's now or never for these guys. If they want to make something happen, they have to do it right now. Lunacy in P7, Kane 2.5 seconds back, he should be safe in P8. MJ and Dan the Racer have done well to get themselves in the points after a few messy races, but F1 Boy still has a say in this. He's going to want to try and nick that P10 off Dan the Racer. I don't really remember the penalties down here. We'll have to see how they come across the line, but a P10 on track will still be a good result for F1 Boy, considering he started right at the back of the grid last after crashing out in qualifying. We'll have to see how that plays out. Jump aboard with Exmore, because this is probably going to be his last chance to try and get that P4 on track. Same with BMAC. I don't think either of them are going to be close enough, so we'll have to jump on board with our leader coming around the penultimate corner, around the final corner. Has not looked like losing his lead for the entire race, been in absolute control, showing fantastic pace, qualifying on pole, and he will come across the line in P1. He does have that 5-second penalty, so he will drop P2, but he should be able to get that removed. But it is Ashuna Matata who will win this race, technically on the track. Suskas will hold on to P3 with that 3-second time penalty. Exmort P4, BMAC P5, David Carbon will drop to P6, but after a bold strategy call to not pit under that safety car, that's really boosted him up a couple of positions, so great result for David Carbon. Lunacy of course getting tangled up with Ashuna Matata, dropping P7 after all of that. Candy Kane will come home P8, pretty comfortable down the race off. A fair way back, and F1 Boy will sneak into the points due to, I think it was MJ dropped positions for penalties, so F1 Boy will pick up 1 point, which is really good for him considering the ups and downs he's had this race. RD, MJ, Insulator will make up P11 to 13. Macedonian, who won last week, will come home P14 after a pretty up and down race as well. A few mistakes, a few little errors here and there, and P White will finish in the last finishing position of P15. But yeah, that has been a crazy race at Zandvoort. Driver of the day goes to Suskas. I think the second week in a row, making up the most positions in the race. So Suskas has done well, even though he didn't have the lightning pace of some of those top guys. He was just in the right place at the right time, kept his nose clean, got into the strategy right, and he is reaping the rewards with that podium. It is Ashuna Matata who will take the P1 trophy, ahead of One Sick Mofo in the end, who I think should be able to get that position back due to that penalty for collision with the safety car. Regardless, those two were very good this race and deserved P1 and 2, and then Suskas of course P3 from P16, so lots of positions gained. I've already run through the order, so we don't have to worry too much about that. 5 DNFs, DBT, Drow, up and down race, qualified well and crashed out, and then had multiple spins after that. Honest Crook, pretty poor weekend overall. And then Ninja Penguin, IG Flow. Ninja Penguin retiring early, championship leader, won't be anymore. And then IG Flow, who I think got disqualified on lap 1 or lap 2 for, I think it was going the wrong way. So a bit of a funny one there, but disappointing for AlphaTauri to come up P19 and P20. Good result there from Red Bull, P5 and 6 as well. Probably the highest scoring constructor behind Ashuna Matata and McLaren. So good points there for the constructors there, with I think every constructor bar 1 scoring points. Looks like it. Actually bar 2. So good spread of points there, but that will be it for tonight. So congratulations again to Ashuna Matata, One Sick Mofo and Suskas on their podiums. Good drives from the three of you. And yeah, I think that will do us for the stream. That was an absolute chaotic race, lots of mistakes from drivers, lots of battling, a few little bits of drama, a bit of contact here and there. But yeah, that was quite an interesting race. These guys put on a show. I believe next round is Spain, from memory, so these guys will be running around Circuit de Catalunya, Barcelona. That should be a good race as well. These guys have proven they can put on some good shows, so make sure you tune into that
But yeah, thanks for tuning in. I'm Bodhod. This has been Race-Spec Pacific Tier 4. Find us here every Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Australian Standard Time. Yeah, make sure to watch as many races as you can so you don't miss out on the action. Yeah, we'll round it off there. Cheers, guys.